I'm Tony, and this is a bit of a different video. It's going to be one where I spill out my thoughts on a scientific topic and ask why I'm wrong. As is all too common for me at the moment, last night I was in bed, couldn't sleep, and so I was thinking about gravity, as you do. I was thinking about how gravity is explained to us like it's a curve in space, or curve in space-time. So I was picturing a tablecloth and how if you pinch part of it in your fingers, it pulls the rest of the tablecloth in towards your fingers. I'm showing a video of me pinching a blanket because I'm not fancy enough to have a tablecloth. Like gravity, this pinching has a greater effect the closer to my fingers the rest of the tablecloth is, or blanket, and it'll barely be noticeable further away. Now, there is a tension around the pinched area that you should be able to see, which, to my mind, represents gravity. But then I thought, what about the bit between my fingers, that raised part? Now, obviously, I know space-time isn't a blanket, but I don't really know what it is. Quantum field theory tells us that it is actually fields, one for each elementary particle, but to be honest, that's as much as I know. I don't really know any more than that. Now, to me, I'm guessing that these fields aren't really something that can be pinched and gathered. But I thought, what if it was? What if you could do that to these fields? Now, looking at the blanket, it obviously effectively occupies a two-dimensional plane laid out on the table as it is. So when I pinch, the sort of gathered material pushes into a third dimension. It comes up, it makes a bump. So I thought, what if space, when it's sort of pinched by an object with mass exerting gravity upon it, what if that goes into a fourth dimension, what we would call time? Now, this is just me at night, not being able to sleep, just thinking about stuff. I'm sure there's many reasons why this is absolutely not the case. And that's what this video is for. Can someone tell me why it's not the case, please? I'm not a physicist of any kind, so there's probably so many reasons that are relatively obvious to any scientists out there, but I just don't know them. Thing is, as I'm thinking about it, at 4 o'clock in the morning, it made enough sense to me that it could kind of be part of a sci-fi novel. What I want to know is why it's not real. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, this gathered material of whatever is actually space, if gravity pushes it into the fourth dimension, the dimension of time, that could affect time somehow in my mind. And that could be an explanation, certainly in a sci-fi novel at least, for why we see time dilation effects around heavy objects, where there's lots of gravity. To my mind, it's the amount of space mass that gets distorted, that gets gathered up and pulled into the fourth dimension that affects time. Thinking further, thinking about black holes, if so much of space is distorted and pulled into the fourth dimension, maybe it stops time completely. Maybe it has that effect. It potentially would explain the information loss issue. As I understand it, the information loss issue is because all of the matter that goes into the black hole evaporates via Hawking radiation regardless of what actually went in. So therefore information about the particles that are inside the black hole are lost, because none of that information is reflected in Hawking radiation. In my sci-fi novel explanation, there is no information loss because it's actually just in an area that we cannot access, but the matter itself is still intact, so the information is still there. Maybe in my story it goes back in time or goes forward in time. I don't know, I've not thought this all the way through. I'm also thinking, it doesn't have to be the fourth dimension, there are potentially many dimensions. Does it go into a fifth dimension? Does it use a different dimension to extrude into? like the blanket goes into the third? Does it go into a fifth dimension, for example? Is it space-time as a combined 3 and 4 dimensional construct being pushed into a fifth dimension? I don't know. It's 7:30 in the morning and I've not had any sleep yet. So all of this might be complete nonsense. But I would really like to know how we see space-time, how we see gravity distorting. What is it distorting? Why is the blanket analogy that I'm using not a good representation of what is actually there and what is actually happening? Because if someone can tell me that, then this sleepless night wouldn't have been wasted, because I would have actually learnt something from it, and that'd be great. So I'm hoping someone answers, and I hope this was at least interesting and sparks someone to think about it in some way. And on that note, I'll end, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.